Nice place. It's not bad. I mean.
By the market, by the market.
Go toward BJ's.
Yeah.
So you take a left to go to BJ's, and that intersection's like a.
Oh, it's right there at the
That's
light,
right there.
right back there.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Really nice. Food's really good.
That's one of Jimmy's
Pricey.
properties.
Yeah.
So we kept my mom in my house.
And then.
Was
So
living,
who are we missing? Where's
and it
Karen?
was 65K a year-ish, not 160. Because if we went to
They're
a.
gonna be on
They're
TV.
gonna get a signal.
Yeah,
And we kept her in the house.
That's how it has been for years.
So you had people coming in? Living help for them?
Living.
There they are.
Here's your video. Chris, congratulations on your daughter's marriage.
Thank you very
Bill,
much.
can you hear us? You're on mute.
Saw your dad today.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Very good.
Looks good.
All right, I
There
got
you, there you go. Is
Very good.
Karen coming tonight? I didn't hear from her. Phil?
I don't know. Bobby and I are in Delaware. We're
I
in the-
know.
We're in the
You know,
C&D
you're best
Canal.
friends. I just figured you know.
Yeah, but so I don't know if Karen's coming.
This is the Waterways Board meeting for, it is not November 5th. It is December 3rd, 2024. Present. So we're just missing Karen? Yes. We have, Peters, both Peters, Brian, myself, John, and then we have, Bob and Phil remotely in Delaware.
Correct.
Oral do you have it, you wanna chat or? Listen.
Sitting here listening.
I guess it's under oral communications, huh? Maybe
What's that?
you,
Oh, me? Yeah, I didn't know whether you notified him or not.
I didn't. So this is our first order of business, which is not on the agenda, and this was an appointment, John McCarthy, there he is. John McCarthy has been appointed to the Waterways Board by the mayor as of today for a 90-day temporary appointment to fill in for Steve LeBlanc.
Fantastic.
All right.
Welcome aboard.
Steve quit, you quit.
Steve, yes, Steve resigned from the board, yep.
It's 90-day, but I just submitted it to council, right?
Right, yeah, it's the 90-day temporary because he hasn't been all the way through, the council has to approve him. So this is the interim, it's allowed interim appointment until he gets through that whole process.
With the possibility of staying on.
That's the
That's the
point,
plan.
yeah, that's the plan, right, yeah,
Fulfill Steve's.
Yeah.
Term.
right. And then we have, I think, Karen and Peter are up for reappointment, so we can, yeah. I think, yeah, I just got a call from the mayor asking if I knew if people wanted to be reappointed, so I think Steve was up for reappointment. There are three. Oh, me, I'm up for reappointment. Yes. I'm up for, that was me. I'm the third one up for reappointment. There you have it. Everybody, I'm sure, had a chance to read the minutes from the November 5th meeting. Any corrections? I guess we need a motion to accept the minutes from November 5th.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the November 5th minutes for the Waterways Board.
Anybody like to second?
I wasn't here.
Oh, sorry. Brian, okay, Brian second. So, Peter made a motion to accept. Brian seconds. Any discussion, corrections, typos, name changes? Okay, so we have to do a roll call vote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't.
You can't
I
vote.
have to abstain.
Yeah.
Brian?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Yes, he's doing something as
Yeah.
vote. Bob? Can't
Yes.
see. Okay. Pete, you're Pete tonight.
Am I voting?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just let the
You
reader.
read the minutes, right?
Oh, that's the
Yes, sorry. And I vote yes too. That's
But it's actually have to be here.
one,
No,
two, three,
I
four,
don't think
five.
so. You don't
Six
think
in favor, one abstention. Phil, you good for reporting on public facilities?
Yes, we had that meeting and we went over some of those subject, especially the one about the moorings for commercial moorings. And we do need more language, and we do need to explore that further. Tony Gross was at the meeting. Donna, you were at the meeting, and we do need to go over that in depth. As you know, that's going to affect how we handle waiting lists. I don't have the minutes for that meeting. I guess they are available on the website, but and I'm not there either. So, but yeah, Donna, you had some input on that too. Quite a bit of input on that.
Well, I don't keep quiet. Well, it's a bigger issue that we, decided to continue talking about is, and certainly Chris, the harbor master, is part of that conversation. We don't have any mechanism for a separate sort of track for commercial moorings. It's a bit of a can of worms.
Donna?
Yeah.
Also, that has to go into some sort of lottery because although it's only been him that asked, no one's asked because it wasn't available before. But if we open that up for availability, that's going to have to go into some sort of lottery system and ask how many other people would want a commercial mooring.
Right.
And so that's going to have to go into some sort of lottery.
Yeah, the answer to that meeting was that there was no answer.
Right.
We don't really have a mechanism for creating separate commercial moorings for anybody. It doesn't exist, but the conversation continues.
Yeah.
And there was some conversation in that meeting around the electricity and cables down at I4C2. Everybody seems to be in compliance. Chris had.
They're
Yep.
moving that way.
Yep.
There's a couple that aren't. It's in their lease, number 13 on their lease. Next billing cycle, there's a reminder going out that says that they have to be in compliance.
And we looked it up. You can get that exact cable on Amazon for $64.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All set? Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the Seaside, this is an addition. Chris called me the other day and said that the Seaside sustainability, people say that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
Want to do something down.
Yeah, so they want to put it, it's called a sea bin. It's about the size of a metal trash barrel. It's like a pool skimmer. It takes trash off the surface of the water. A great place is in the corners of docks or where retaining walls are. That's just about it. They have a few pictures to pass around. They'd like to do something at our dock, at least one, maybe two.
There
So
is
who
usually
is
a
they?
place-
Seaside Sustainability,
Are they funding it?
yes.
Oh, good.
It's their equipment.
Is it float, Chris?
It attaches through the dock.
You can use that slip on the inside or a rock.
So it can be in the rock, it could be inside where the about station is. They'll send people down daily, clean it, and take the debris away. If,
Daily, it has to be daily.
depending on how
Oh.
much. Having, they'll monitor it.
Oh.
We're collecting and whatever's floating. Plastic tops, cans, and it's about the size of a metal trash barrel.
And does somebody pay for this, or is it,
They have them.
they're nonprofit?
Yes, they have them.
So they pay for the product and the labor?
Yes.
Great.
That's good.
How do we get a little bit clean?
And it gets-
Maybe you should request one down for the club.
They would absolutely,
Yeah.
they would jump out instantly.
It's a little
Good
bit
idea.
that sucks things down, so it's
It's
Like for water?
yeah, like a pool filter.
what's it, very innovative.
Small creatures and trash. Yep.
Nice. You like.
Muted.
I hear them. See. Oh, I see on my screen is you. Yeah, see? Turn around. Just you.
We just voted to put the trash catchers, we're voting to put the trash catchers at the, what's it, what's the name of the dock?
Solomon Jacobs.
Solomon Jacob Dock. It doesn't cost us anything except electricity. So far, everyone's voted yes. What do you say?
Yes.
Good
All
idea.
all we saw here was the name Bobby Al's on my screen.
Oh.
You weren't even there. The board wasn't even there.
Does Bob vote yes
Yes.
on this too? Good.
Just vote yes on Bobby
And
Al's.
Peter,
Yes, yes.
There you go.
Motion passes 7-0. Donna votes yes, and on we go. You can take this in any order you want, Chris. Harbor Masters report.
Though I don't have a whole lot, all our boats are put away except for our safe boat and our work boat. Safe boat, obviously, for response, in cold weather, and our work boat for response near shore. Everything else is pretty much put away. We have a DPA pile project that's going on. It's a lot of interest, a lot of people signing up. We had a small,
What does that mean, Chris? A DPA pile project? They replace the pile?
yes, it's a
Okay.
program to streamline the process of replacing piles if you're in the DPA. Make permitting easier, quicker. That's it. We had a small collapse of the pier in Harbor Cove. Same pier that collapsed last time,
Where?
Where was it?
Harbor Cove. Building inspector was notified, conservation, myself, property owner, they're gonna take care of it.
As well as they took care of it the last time?
Well, these are new owners.
Oh, okay.
So the new owner already has permits in the process to rebuild the place, so he's doing the right thing. Let's see, what else do we have? St. Peter's decking, that's getting screwed back together temporarily. So nobody, hold on. There you go. So nobody gets hurt. Same thing with I-4C2. Slowly, we're doing it days that we have time to do it. You know, rotten boards are coming out. Loose boards are getting screwed down.
And that's ours,
Well,
that's Harbor Masters.
That's how
doing
the
this
mass,
now.
yeah, until we figure out what we're gonna do. We have some grants that we're looking at right now. We have, Mike Hale in the city and myself in the mayor's office that are looking at different options. GZA made different options, suggested different stages. We're gonna need to find out what we wanna do, and how we want to pay for it. That's a different story. Trap storage is going well. Everybody seems to be doing what they're supposed to be doing
What's it?
and staying within the boundaries
Yeah, what?
without too much problem. We talked about the code language a little bit. I think that's all I have. Moorings, we just started to reissue. We just started to reissue moorings that were revoked or given out. We started with Freshwater Cove. We are into Southeast Harbor now, and we're gonna work our way up the river and then back into the Inner Harbor, Smith Cove, Pirates Lane area.
How many do you think that might free up?
How many?
10, 50?
Oh, in total, probably, I bet you close to 50, if not more.
Sure.
We're gonna go through people who are given up and revoked first, and then we'll look at new moorings and new mooring areas. We don't wanna put new moorings in yet until we use up what we already have.
And this is part of sort of going through the records and.
Yes, and,
Fine, and
and
just-
finding out who's not using them, who is using them, who haven't paid for them, you know, basically an audit. That's about what I have.
Well, in part of that is, sorry, I don't know, this frog in my throat. Part of that is circling back to finance, so, we have a budget crisis now. It was looking. John worked really hard while he was interim harbor master on balancing the budget. It was tenuous balancing the budget with a couple of things that were getting taken out. And some revenue projections that might have been a little bit. Right. And Connor has gone through, you know, all the city budgets and fixed some accounting procedures that he thought should have been done differently. And then there was an excise tax mistake, and John can speak to this. There was an excise tax mistake that more than likely came home to roost to the tune of $60,000.
Excise tax on,
They double counted in the fiscal 24 budget. And this was prepped long before they double counted the excise tax, so it was a $60,000 mistake in revenues that we picked up as soon as we got here, but the powers to be had decided, the city CFO had decided to leave it in there and try to make it up, so that, and when we took on this year's budget, as you know, I think I reported to everybody here, there was a $50,000 stabilization fund funding that got picked up by the city and said, you know, that wasn't authorized, so and we were looking at some money that was accounted and wasn't, you know, it was over accounted for, so we did get numbers, Donna, or approximate number on what the Chris, you got it right on what the
Free cash.
free cash is gonna be.
Free cash, yes, they're talking 23,000.
So
and we
this is
thought
a
it was
number
gonna
that we
be-
had anticipated to be north of 100,000. That's only 20,000. And we have a $35,000 shortfall payment we need to make for staff salaries right now. That was, you know, was going to be part of that money, but we're really short. There's a lot going on in the budget that's,
So it's not like we're the federal government where we can print money.
no, right,
That's the
exactly.
problem. It's an enterprise fund and, you know, it's just like your home checkbook. Whatever you put in, can't spend more than that. And that's what we have to look at the fee structure going forward and we have to, you know, create more revenue.
For 26.
And Chris has got to tighten the belt. But, you know, we have to try to save where we can.
So if you look at the budget on the top, the operating revenues, so 24. And this is July of 23 through June of 24, right? The 24 budget
24 budget,
is June of 20,
24.
20, yeah.
June of 24 to July, or June of 23 to July of 24.
We're in the 25 now. so.
Right, okay, so that's last year. So, you know,
There was also some separation money going on.
right, there was a big payout for former staff in the harbor master's office, paying out not severance, but vacation pay and a time accrued and sick time.
Those were for a couple of folks that are no longer here,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Right, that came out of that 24 fiscal year budget, so.
Right. Which ate up a huge portion of the free cash. But Chris, so on the revenue side, that 610. Is that a real revenue number? Do we think that's really what came in, and the question is really, what do you think, what do you think the numbers look like as far as revenue? We're ahead of last year,
I think we're a little ahead of last year.
okay,
And I don't think it's more revenue. There were some price increases that created that revenue, not, it's not necessarily more transient moorings or more rides or more, I think a lot of it was, fee-based,
right,
not all of it.
So
And they're not big numbers. They're small numbers, a few
Right.
thousand more here and there, but
Yeah.
everything we have is above last year. The revenue is a little higher. Boat ramp, we don't know yet. That splits, half of it is from this past year and half goes to next year.
I have just a curious question. How come total revenues equals total budget?
we have to have a balance. How come it doesn't
How come
equal?
it does to the dollar?
Yeah, no, it's an enterprise fund, so we have to have a balanced budget.
But it's usually one way or the other, $50. It's not.
Well, you gotta remember when we took over 50,000 right off the top that they took away from us. So
Right.
we had to make some cuts. We didn't fund the,
No, just the numbers on just an accounting question. Usually you have some difference between the revenues and the expenses, either, $1, $5, something. So does it just fill in,
well,
does
they,
that fund just fills in whatever the void
you
is?
can see there's a free cash column.
Yeah,
That's the excess in revenues that wasn't spent on expenses.
That's the differential.
all right, so
The
this
free
just
cash number
rounds
is the
it out to
differential.
same.
Yep.
Never seen it before, so it's.
Yeah. City accounting. So, John did the budget while he was the interim harbor master, worked with Chris and getting him up to speed. One night sitting at home at his house drinking wine, he said, we're talking about the budget. And he said, I should be on the board. And now here he is. He's on the board. And,
I think I got recruited.
yeah, well, something happened there. We have two, I can't be, as chair of the Waterways Board, I can't chair the finance committee. And we've had, in essence, kind of no finance committee.
We've
So
never met.
this year, we have not, so, John's filling in for Steve as, in his 90-day appointment, so he's become the chair of finance. Do we have to vote on that? Because you're filling in for Steve, you are Steve now. He
Not
was-
we, they,
Huh?
not we, they.
Huh?
Finance
Oh,
committee,
They need to.
the
vote on
Ops and Finance Committee has to vote on that.
Gotcha, thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
This is gonna be our work this winter, is really taking a look at fees across the board. We raised them a couple of years ago. We are going to have to pick up some revenue. Chris kind of skipped over the cost. Why don't you do the numbers on these levels of repairs we have? So aside from a deficit running in the budget and projected deficit, we have some huge repairs coming up. So, even with a grant coming in, we have to come up with 20% of that money. And right now, there's no money to come up with, right? Nobody wants to charge more, but we're not gonna have a choice in finding revenue somewhere and increasing fees and
Well, an easy one, I hate to say it, is increase the mooring fees
I'm all for it, but.
from $8 to more.
So, well, go ahead, do that and we'll sort of make a plan. These numbers we're looking at for short-term and long-term repairs to both piers.
They're big. They're anywhere from $380,000.
For a very
for a
short-term
very- yeah,
fix.
For a very short term fix for each of them, up to $3.8 million.
For rebuilding
For each of
everything.
them to
Right.
rebuild. So there's a wide range and there's different options and different levels that were presented to us.
But you just can't use shifts and mooring fees to fill out the deficit every year. It just doesn't work. Because some years you can have a negative, some years you have a positive. It just, you have to switch, it's only gonna get higher. So you just have to, we have to wait a period before changing that.
Which two ones are we talking about?
St. Peter's and I-4C2.
Yeah.
The two city-owned marinas.
We just raised it the mooring fee this year, right? Less,
Mm,
yeah.
No,
no,
That
it
was,
isn't.
that was a couple of years.
So
ago.
this is the, uh, tonight I want to refer out to the finance committee and whoever else wants to be in on this. I mean, certainly Phil and Bob, you're up and down the coast, you know what we're looking at, but Chris certainly has some ideas about where we can squeak out some fees that haven't been changed in years and years and years. You know, the float fee or,
Yeah, the flow fees, the 10A flow fees. They were changed at one time. They were 50 cents a square foot, maxed out at $350. They've gone up to $1 a square foot and they max out at $400. There may be a way that we can charge whatever, say $300 or $400 for a float, and anything over a certain size, you get charged 50 cents a square foot. So you're getting $400 a float instead of pennies a float. That's one way to do it. Our dock down here that we charge $5 an hour up to 4 hours would be $20. Instead of charging $5 an hour, we charge $20 for up to 4 hours. That now we're getting $20 from everybody instead of 5, possibly 20. You know, there's ways to do it, and we need to take a good look at it. Our mooring fees that we charge were, permitted moorings were originally $6, and they went $6 for a resident, $8 for a non-resident. They went up to $8 for a resident, $10 non-resident, which is not legal. I don't want to say it, but it's not legal by Chapter 91 standards. We can't discriminate
Right.
resident, so it has to be the same
So it has to be the
way.
same.
Unfortunately, we have to go up, which means that if we bring a non-resident up to $12 or $15, then we need to bring a resident up to that too.
That's the dredging fee,
What's
that
that?
tied to the dredging.
Yeah, federal, any kind of federal money
Yes.
comes in.
So it's always been staggered where, well, since I've had a boat,
Yes,
resident was less than none.
yes. It's been like that forever. And it clearly says in Chapter 91, Section 10A,
Okay.
you cannot do that. You cannot discriminate by residents.
It's federal money, not state money.
State and federal, right?
Yes.
So I mean, Manchester's never had a set, in the years I was there, never had it's always the same for. Effective.
And it's relatively cheap. I mean,
yeah.
you're talking a couple
everything
$100
is
for
pretty
a
inexpensive.
mooring for a year, depending on your boat size, say $250 for an average boat. Go to a marina. You know, go to a marina
$250 a foot.
Right,
for a few months, for a few months. So we definitely need to look at all of our fees.
right. I mean, the question on this is, do we have 3 or 4 people? 3 finance committee members and chair and the harbor master tackle this, or do we tackle it as a board? And really come up with, we can't raise the fees for this year, so
It has to go down to public facilities first. And then.
I think we go to finance first, Phil.
Oh, well, you're true enough,
Yeah,
yeah.
So can you come up as a board with the ideas and then refer it? Is that a better way to do it?
I think the way to
It has to
do it,
be hashed out down there,
I think the way to do it would be having the finance committee look at it and bring it back to the board.
Okay.
Right,
and we vote to refer that down,
I
right?
mean, it's gonna be some legwork finding out what other communities in the area, just the same as, the last time you did. I think Manchester's 15 or 16 bucks
Yeah, they do a couple,
up there, so, I know there were people coming in here during the summer saying that the transient moorings, they were paying double in Provincetown for the same thing they were getting here
Right.
without as good a facility, so.
yeah,
I think we gotta take a look and, like Chris said, all the money that's gonna have to go in to these wharfs if they are ours, Jim.
They are.
I know a lot of people said they are and they aren't, and we still haven't really got a definitive answer from legal, Chris, have we?
not from legal, no.
And what are we charging for transients now? 50 a night?
65.
65?
Best hotel room on the North Shore right there.
Sure is.
I mean, I know of a club in the river that charges 100 a night. Weekends $1.25.
So we vote to refer it down, right? That's
That's what I would
Yeah.
do is
all
refer
right.
it.
Can we have a motion to refer research and ideas of fees across the board? All fees charged.
So moved.
Second,
Oh, that's a winner.
That's a winner. Yeah. So the motion on the table is to refer to finance committee, research on fees across the board charged and come back to the full board with recommendations. And seconded by John. Any discussion?
No, go for it.
Brian,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Keith,
Yeah.
Donna, yes.
Yes.
John, yes. Motion passes 7-0. That will go to finance and we'll maybe make a finance committee meeting tonight of
So
a
the finance
date.
committee could have chartered that calculation every year.
No, once it's calculated, it's,
I mean, we have to change it. Every year we can look at something.
I think in general, we look at sort of the low hanging fruit, what hasn't changed in a long time, what's way under
I'm
the
saying that
market, and then
Every year you're gonna
we,
move it up.
we might
you
wanna,
know,
yeah.
Move something up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is the way of the world.
It's just, we're looking at a very rosy picture on the budget and now it's not rosy at all. So it's, and
there's
know,
one
it's-
other money that's gonna be coming for the payroll grant. We don't think that's hit the books. up
Yeah, I
there
don't
yet.
think it's hit the books yet.
a grant coming in.
Yeah, it's a small one, it's 11,000 CVA grant.
That's the reimbursing for the pump out
The
that
pump
we
out
used
boat,
this
yeah,
year.
every year, yeah. And that's budgeted. It's not, I mean, that's money that we can account for every single year.
It comes right out of the general budget and then like this 11 grand will just get kicked back into your,
Put back in. And I think what we'll do as a finance committee is really report on the whole budget, really what we're sitting on in various accounts and what it's for and what we're looking at, so that everybody has a clear understanding of what the finances of the Waterways Board really are.
What is the largest income that we have? Moorings? Or
Yes.
rent? Or
Yeah,
rent?
moorings.
Between that and the
Yeah,
rent?
yeah, the rents don't amount to much. Our transient moorings and our private moorings are big revenues.
Then looking at competitive, like Marblehead and Manchester, looking at those prices, it's an immediate.
We're in the middle. There are some places that are almost double what we are, and then some places that are half of what we are. And we hear from different voters, hey, you guys are more expensive than whatever, Beverly. Beverly only has a couple of them. So we're in the middle. We average in the middle side of everything.
Is there a way to surge price so that the big weekends are more expensive than?
we talked about that this year, about
Yeah.
tiering it too.
Yeah.
About tiering the size of the boat because, getting a 70 footer in here, obviously you're taking up a lot more real estate. We're charging 65 a night.
That's pretty normal. I think that that's one of the things you should look at.
That's, yeah.
Yeah,
There is
you
something
say
to talk
you go
about
up to
that.
a certain size, you pay 65. But if you're over, whatever your number is, if you're over a 40-foot boat, you pay per foot
Right.
after that.
But it's also, theoretically, it's tied to the mooring. So a mooring for a 50-foot boat is a lot more expensive than a mooring for a
Yeah,
30.
so we have right outside of the office, we have 15 moorings. And they're all rated for 60 footers. Up to 60 foot. And then there are a couple smaller ones that we have in Smith Cove area that are rated for 34
We
footers.
don't, it's not necessary that we actually set the quality of the holes of the mooring to the size of the fee. We just tell them it's bigger boats more expensive.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to pay.
Yeah.
You go up to Camden, it's all laid out.
Right. Yeah, but what I'm just saying that we have the ability, every one of those moorings, all 15 of those moorings have the ability to hold a 60-footer.
Right.
So, you know, you could do that. You wouldn't be limited to only 3 60-footers in this inside of the in the harbor. All 15 could be 60-foot.
So when you pull into a harbor, like, any of the harbors, I went up the coast last year, and most of them have.
Don, I have a question.
Tied more to the swing.
Hang on
room
1 second.
Than the weight of the mooring. Reality is how close you put, so if you have 30-foot area for 30-foot boats, the moorings are much closer and you can get a lot more boats in there. If you have moorings for 50-foot boats, well, this can be half, twice the space. So you gotta have, it's, so the swing room is the real cost factor.
Go ahead, Bob.
In terms of best practices mapped to pricing, what we could do is go out and compare our pricing to similar communities or communities similar to us or waterfront similar to us via Dockwell. That'd be a really simple way to do it.
Yep.
I did that, a couple of years ago?
Yep.
So we can pull that out and do it again. It doesn't take very long. I put I don't even know if it's changed, but it's, I did one for TJ. I guess you saw it. I'm happy to do it again. It doesn't take more than an hour.
Yeah, very, very simple on Dockway. You can go to any.
So I went from Connecticut to Maine, the top of Maine. A lot of the vast majority of the Dockway stuff is tie-ups, not moorings.
Right.
So probably every second or third entry is mooring. One thing I was thinking about when I got back from vacation, started looking at this, is that one of the things we can do is we can, shall we say, rename certain activities that we do that fall under the realm of grants. That because I was very, very hard to find anything that matches what we do. So if we change adjust what we do by a different definition, we can go after grants in that area. And making a list of
So change our definition. To
change the
grant.
definition, boat safety, this or that.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
Work, cleaning up the harbor, stuff like that falls under our purview. We do it anyway. We just call it something that matches grants. Having raised money for other things with grants, that's what we always did. We changed the name, the wording, and becoming a nonprofit. You have to list the things that you do, and the way you do it is you just list as broad as possible.
Well, fixing some finger piers down at I4C2 while cleaning up all around them might be a good idea, right? I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's a smart idea, whatever we can fit a grant into. What we talked about the other day is that everybody's going after the same pool of money for harbor issues.
Right.
Just
to be a better grant writer.
Right,
more imaginative. But those cleanup things tied to the docks, I mean, we can probably figure out some way to talk to the seaside sustainability. Talk to them about putting in a lot more of them, but we get a fee when we put it in, we get a fee that throws off a profit. I think it's a really nifty idea to have those things. But anyway, there is grant money, but we have to change. What we call ourselves isn't very attractive. That's the one place that
I'm not familiar with grants, but do you have a file on historical grant money that's been received in the last 10 years? Like, are there any that we used to get, but we don't get anymore that might be something that we need to work, or is it like something that renews, just, you never let one go until it just goes away?
The CVA Clean Vessel Act, that's one that we get every year.
There's a big grant that they got to
It's
read this building
$11,000.
and this facility. That was at one time.
I love that.
I think that came from Seaport, didn't it?
No, the big grant was a federal project. Seaport is state.
And we could also put together a nonprofit and raise money for that. If they had something where we could take a piece of it. You can always get a management fee, so when WGBH gets a grant, half of that money goes into just the management of the station. And half of it is used for the actual grant.
I never did get an answer on the leftover dredge money either.
Yeah, let's,
I mean, that's something we all look at.
so, you know, it goes down to finance, but, anybody that has, you know, anybody that has any sort of ideas or things to look into, or, you know, Bob, if you have, you know, if you guys are up and down the coast and write everything down, filter it to somebody on finance so that we can work through this. We really want to be, you know, through the process and up and running for July 1, you know, so that we have a chance for the next fiscal year to get some of these things in place.
You know, one thing when we go, we should have a meeting at the beginning of the year for the finance committee.
Yeah,
Just to talk about sources of money and to have the list of the price list in front of us and spend an hour or two just kicking around. We should like make it open to anybody on the board that wants to join in. But I think it's worth spending at least a couple of hours banging this stuff up, thinking about it.
Sure.
yeah, before we leave tonight, we'll make a time to get
I
together.
mean, beyond
Yeah.
what, Chris, what you normally do, we don't wanna mess with that, we wanna find new things.
Right, new thing,
So we
absolutely.
want to sort of a creativity meeting. And I mean, Gloucester's never been really high in that kind of thinking. Because it said, well, we're an industrial harbor, now it's sort of, we're becoming more of a tourist destination.
Question on debt service. Is there an item that is taking not the majority of it, but a good chunk of that? Whether it's the safe boat loan or
There's a loan on the safe boat and the second launch.
in the
So
second.
what did you give us?
Yeah.
That was gonna be,
It's not a huge, it's like, I think it's is it 17?
I think it's more than that. Connor had updated us, do you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember. He's got debt service in here for,
We didn't have it this year, it's coming next year.
right, well,
I
this
believe
year,
it's
that
17,000.
the budget's 13 for FY 25, and then it pops to 23,000 FY. Why is the debt service going up?
It's one of the reasons going up because that second launch
Hmm,
that got bought.
Would this meeting we're talking about be necessarily an open meeting? It's a subcommittee, you know,
Yeah,
It'd be
it
nice
would
if
be
it
a
wasn't-
finance committee meeting, yes.
but it would have to be an open meeting.
has to be.
All of our meetings are
Public
public,
meetings
yeah.
have to be open.
Well, to make, maybe it's a working group.
It's
Doesn't
still,
have to be.
it's a public
It
meeting.
doesn't have to be hybrid though.
It doesn't
All your
have to be
numbers.
on the screen or anything, but, you know,
No, I'm just thinking, because the library used to have working groups that they did both.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. We're public. We're public. It's the one thing since my time on the board, you know, through TJ sort of handling all the finance, and I never really got a handle on. John knows it, Chris is learning, you know, the budgeting process, but I think in columns when it comes to math and just really like, where do we have room? Where do we not have room? Where's the money going? What I really still want to do this winter is dig into, you know, Leslie's box around, you know, cash collected and where did it come from? So that we can, you know, set a process for this came from launch, this came from fees, this came from, so we really know, because we still don't have a sense
Right.
of how did the new ticketing thing, do we print more? Do we spend more money to print more tickets? Or do we
Right.
say, let's do it the old way because we don't know,
Right, we don't
right?
know.
Yeah,
What software do we use for accounting?
What's that?
What software do we use for accounting?
It's the city's.
it's the city software, everything.
The
on-
name's going out of my head right now, but it's the city's,
It's used throughout the city.
Munis.
Yeah.
Munis.
Yeah.
So what the reason when I ask you is when a big function of the city is working and they have a lot of administrative people who are doing the back work. And when they get to the meetings, all they do is vote up, vote down. those meetings, those preparatory meetings with the administrative people who research, put it all together, are not open meetings.
But you're talking about people in Chris's position and people in city hall positions. No, they're not having meetings.
Right. So,
And those are the people that are doing the homework
yeah,
Chris does the homework for the public facilities or the finance,
so when we're doing homework, it doesn't have to be an open meeting.
but you can't
I mean,
call it a
Steve
meeting.
disagrees with me on this.
You can't call it a meeting.
It can't be a subcommittee
Yeah, it's
meeting.
called a working group, it's a term that I.
Now, even the working groups are subject, like city council working groups are subject to the open meeting law.
And I think if it's 3 people or more, it's considered a meeting.
Right.
Public,
Right, and
meeting.
we have nothing to hide, so it's, you know, we
Right, I
are
know.
going to look at everything, it's
When my
gonna have,
committee at the library,
anything we change
we
has
had
to go
open
through city
meetings.
council
The
anyway,
open
so.
meeting People who showed up were often more helpful than.
It's not a public hearing and they don't have to be allowed to speak either. It's different. If you have a public hearing, obviously everybody has a right to speak. Like you said, this is a working
Yeah.
group.
One of the problems we have is inviting people who were not guests to the working group. So you can't invite people without inviting everybody. So it's that kind of thing.
Basically, it's a subcommittee of this board, so it would be open to the public if they wanted to come.
Yeah, no, I'm just, all right, I just want to clarify that in my mind.
But if you or one other member wanted to go in and talk to Chris in his office,
That's not,
that's where you go to pursue what you're talking about.
So that's okay.
Yes,
Right.
so what,
and
why
that
don't we do,
happened all the time.
well, why don't we do that? Why doesn't the finance committee do that? So we go into Chris's office and talk to him about the
Why
money.
do we need to, Peter? I don't understand. I mean, why do we need to, we're gonna do the
Just cuts the
research
work.
and we're gonna, you know, I mean,
We, just to get things moving.
right, no, I
Yeah,
understand.
it's
We're
been a
gonna
while.
meet, if somebody shows up at the meeting, they have 3 minutes to talk, that's it. That's how the meeting goes.
But we would have all that formality eliminated. We can go sit with Chris for an hour. in
No,
his
it's not
office.
gonna get
I
eliminated.
think the open
Just
meeting
not.
laws are pretty cut
The
and
open
dry.
meeting laws are, and I have to do an ethics, you know, I have
So
to
I've
sign
been
my
to
name
lots
to
of
it, yeah,
seminars
so,
on open meetings
yeah,
and stuff like that, but there is, everything isn't burdened by the let's say, the overage of work that's involved with an open meeting, Leslie filing stuff, or you can't have it spontaneously. That's-
no, we can have it within, we have to just give notice
It'd
to
just
the
be
public
nice if
within
the-
48 hours.
If the finance committee will meet.
Yeah. We will,
And we would, we don't just. If we lowered the labor involved with having a meeting, it might be.
no, we're gonna be fine, it's all gonna be good. It's all gonna be good, but it is the task for the winter. I was hoping to get through all the ordinance and all the language in the ordinance and and the regs, and there's stuff scattered about everywhere, but that was really going to be my project for the winter, but I think the budget and fees are going to have to be our project for the winter, so. Yes.
Right, so we can roll out the fees July 1.
Exactly. Yep,
Can I,
Yeah.
Donna,
yep,
one of the large ticket items, as John mentioned, is the second launch. And I may be the only member on the board that was a launch pass holder. And initially, when the first launch was purchased, I mean, it was a huge success. And simultaneously, we opened up Southeast Harbor. And before you know it, there was the wait time, let's say at most of the, let's say at Cripple Cove, you might end up waiting there 45 minutes for the launch, and subsequently we ended up purchasing a second launch. The disconnect now, I think, is that, and Chris is doing a good job cleaning up the mooring list and what moorings are derelict. But an answer to finding funds for the second launch is just increase the number of moorings in Southeast Harbor by about 40%, and yet that problem goes away quickly.
yeah, I don't think it's not, Bob, I don't think it's so much that we needed a second launch and that it makes sense, it was just maybe we didn't need the best one.
It's just paying the debt service on it, Bobby.
That's all. We have it and it's a great thing, we just have to pay for it.
But I hear you, but there's plenty of room out there to add additional moorings, and it'll help out, I think, pay off the second launch.
Okay. Yeah, so, anything that we've been all around, but anything that we don't have on the agenda that anybody else has to add?
You mean unanticipated items?
And unanticipated items, yes.
I do not.
So can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by
I second
Peter,
it.
seconded by Pete. Phil?
Yes.
It's Pete and Peter.
All right, whatever. You guys tonight, I'd like to switch things up. We have a motion on the table to adjourn the meeting. Phil?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes, yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Donna, yes. Peter?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn carries 7-0. We are adjourned. And then we'll make a Waterways.
That's it. We played you across the. That's pretty little ball.
Turn us off, Donna.
He was with us on a regular basis, and now he only goes once a week. He was a federal agent, now in DC. From there, he went to Salem State as a police officer, and there.
Still recording.
And we have so many licenses to renew.
Donna?
John, is Phil still on?
I
Recording.
Rob, he's, and
And that's what he wants to do.
What time do you usually